Good evening, and wow, John R., Ted Turner would be so proud of you. Ted's bold vision is the reason we are here tonight, and we all send him our best. John R., thank you. Your Excellencies, President of the UN General Assembly, Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Deputy Secretary General, and all distinguished guests, on behalf of the United Nations Foundation and the United Nations Association of the USA, welcome to the 2015 Global Leadership Dinner. We are honored tonight to be joined by so many luminaries, including more than 20 permanent representatives to the UN. 2015 has been no ordinary year. This year, the world celebrated the 70th anniversary of the United Nations. We adopted the Sustainable Development Goals and made a landmark commitment to a world without poverty and with dignity for all. And now we're preparing for a pivotal climate change conference that will serve as a launchpad for greater climate action. It's been a time of great hope, but also great challenge, as we grapple with inequality, environmental disaster, a growing refugee crisis, and more. But the good news is we have solutions that can make a difference. And with the new global goals, we have a roadmap to a better future. What we need now is action from every community, every sector, and every generation. Because while our challenges are different than 70 years ago, it's clear that the United Nations remains the indispensable forum for global cooperation and progress. And by joining with the United Nations, each of us can help build a stronger, healthier, more prosperous planet, just like we did 70 years ago. My favorite UN supporter of that time, Eleanor Roosevelt, wrote, yes, she's our hero, and she wrote, "We make our own history." Well, tonight we honor the outstanding leaders who are making history alongside and within the United Nations. Before we get to tonight's first award, however, I want to encourage you to go ahead and eat your salads, which I think you're doing already, and take a look at the iPads on your tables. They are loaded with information on tonight's program and honorees. And I want to thank everyone who made tonight possible. Our host committee, our sponsors, and the amazing musical group Bongi Duma and Friends, which opened our evening tonight. You're going to hear them again in one of our two breaks. They are great supporters of our Nothing But Nets campaign, which is the anti-malaria campaign, and they are from the Lion King show. I also want to thank Project Everyone and Richard Curtis for the beautiful projections on the UN building that we just saw. Those appeared one night in September, but they're locked in for posterity now. And finally, I want to recognize the members of the United Nations Foundation Board of Directors who are here with us tonight. I'd like each of the following board members to please stand. Her Majesty, Queen Rania Al Abdullah of Jordan. Fabio Barbosa of Brazil. Gro Harlem Brundtland of Norway. Hisashi Owada of Japan. Timothy Worth of the United States. And last, but certainly not least, is the board member who is also our first award presenter. Will you please join me in welcoming former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan.
Good evening. I think most of us will remember what happened in 2014. In early 2014, one of the worst epidemics in our lifetimes struck Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. Ebola left a devastating human toll in its wake. It threatened nations and tested global health systems. I was here in New York at that time, and I recall the fear, the hysteria, the political opportunism that prevailed at the time. And that, in a way, helped scare away foreign health workers who would have gone to Sierra Leone to help. We were fortunate that business leaders, African business leaders, came together in the months that followed and pledged their full support to this dreadful disease, to muscle to fight this dreadful disease. In November 2014, the African Against Ebola Solidarity Trust was born with a collective vision to stamp out Ebola and build a more resilient Africa. The question is not if there will be another Ebola, another epidemic. The question is when. So they were determined to make a contribution that did not only stop the spread of the disease, but also prepared us for the future. Equipping, training, and deploying African health workers to fight the Ebola epidemic in partnership with the African Union, the Trust mobilized resources across the continent and saved countless lives. This unique and historic private sector initiative sought not only to confront Ebola today, but to strengthen health systems to be ready for the threats of tomorrow. Tonight, we recognize the board of directors who have risen to the challenge of promoting the livelihood and long-term well-being of the West African region. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring the members of the board of directors of the African Against Ebola Solidarity Trust. It is our honor to be joined this evening by the Trust's chairman and founder, Econet Wireless founder, Strive Masiyiwa. Mr. Manji, you made it. We weren't sure you'd be here, but it's good you are here. Please join us.
You know, when I worked with Mr. Annan on the Alliance for a Green Revolution, and I was asked to take over as chairman, so somebody asked me what it was like to walk in his shoes. I said, I don't walk in his shoes, I live in them. They're that big. Thank you so much. You know, it is almost a year ago to the date that the chair of the African Union, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, reached out to us as the private sector in Africa and asked us to travel to Addis Ababa. And a group of us, I think we were about 37. And she said to us, look, we have this crisis. I have about 1,000 healthcare workers ready to leave from about a dozen African countries, but we have no money. I need you guys to pay for it. And so the trust was born. Within 30 minutes, most of the money that was needed to get the group going had been pledged. It came from the private sector, and I say the private sector of Africa. That wasn't just African companies, it was global companies working in Africa. And we pledged that we would keep those people there until Ebola was defeated. So I'm here really to represent the Board of Trustees, my colleagues, the Chair of the African Union, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, who attends every single meeting, my colleague Yusuf Manji from Tanzania, Aliko Dangote, Putuma Nhleko, Patrice Motsepe, and Christina Steinbeck from Sweden. Our job was quite simple. We just had to raise the money. And we didn't just raise the money from the private sector. I think the most important aspect of our work was to try and mobilize the African citizens themselves to contribute. And we did this by getting all the cell phone operators in Africa to set up one SMS number through which anyone could contribute as little as 20 cents. And we got all the celebrities, soccer players, musicians, TV stars to mobilize on the internet to get people to contribute. Millions of dollars were contributed. At the height of our contribution, we had 837 healthcare workers on the ground in the 3 countries. It was the single largest contingent of healthcare workers. So I'm really here humbled to represent those millions of Africans who felt it was their responsibility to participate in this global effort. It was a global effort from every corner of the world, and as Africans, we salute and thank you. As our work comes to an end, there is a lot to reflect on, and today is not that day. But really, in receiving this award, I receive it on behalf of the healthcare workers that put their lives on the line, those men and women from across the world. Thank you very much, and God bless you.